There are design tricks being used right now on your favorite apps that keep you addicted and keep you coming back again and again, making it impossible to put your phone down. And with a few simple changes, you can make your apps just as addictive. I open TikTok for a quick scroll, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. I bet this has happened to you too. And it's no accident. These apps have been optimized to keep you engaged and keep you on the device as long as they possibly can. But how do we make our apps just as engaging? In this video, I'm going to show you how big apps keep you hooked, the psychology behind their design, and how you can smartly use these same techniques in your own apps. This year, I've been building Piano Run, a game that helps people learn the piano, and I've hit a slight problem. It's just not that fun. As a learning tool, it works. You plug the iPad into a piano, you learn a song, and you get instant feedback. I mean, there's some replayability. You can try to beat your high score, you can play faster, you can hit fewer wrong notes, but as a game, it's just kind of boring. And with 90% of downloads happening on the iPhone, I realized, without connecting to the piano, this is basically just a button mashing game. And the stats show the story. In App Store Connect, only 3.04 sessions per active device. That means people reopen the app on average of 3 times. Ouch. So how do I get more people coming back to the app? How do I get more people addicted to my app? But Adam, that's unethical. Why do you want to keep more people addicted to their phone? When I was growing up, my auntie used to tell me that I spent too much time on the computer. I was coding, I was talking with friends, and I was being productive. But I guess all she saw was a kid mindlessly wasting their life on a device all day long. But the irony was, my auntie was glued to Farmville. She was glued to Candy Crush, secretly spending hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars of in-game currency for that next hit of dopamine. And it made me realize addiction is bad, especially when it's just mindless consumption. But if you're addicted to learning or addicted to creating, or maybe addicted to learning the piano, then it's not so bad. Now, with my ethical issues aside, I can explore how to make my app as addictive as possible. But why make an app addictive anyway? In a 2017 study titled iPhone's Digital Marketplace Characterizing Big Spenders, they found that 1% of users are responsible for 48% of all app revenue. Translation? The top 1% of users make up a disproportionate amount of all spending within apps on the App Store. Apps like Honor of Kings made $2 million last month, Candy Crush, $60 million, Royal Match, a whopping $76 million. But it's not just games. Duolingo makes education fun and addictive. It made $38 million last month. So what exactly makes these apps so addictive, and how can we make our own apps more engaging and addictive? First step, we need a solid monetization strategy. These apps all have a monetization strategy that maximizes how much that top 1% can actually spend within the app. This is done through in-game currency, like purchasing coins or gems, and these unlock special customizations or new experiences. Simply having a weekly or a monthly subscription just isn't enough. You need to offer consumable items within the app that gets users who want to spend more money. But this strategy can't just be added to any app. Add purchasable gems to a currency converter app, and you're going to simply confuse your users. The second step, you need to craft an endless flow state. To learn about the psychology of addiction, I've been reading Addiction by Design by Natasha Dow Schull. It explores the hidden side of slot machine gambling in Las Vegas and how every part of the machine and the experience is designed to keep people addicted. And the more I read, the more I realized apps today are literally designed like slot machines to keep users hooked. Slot machines never end. There's no natural pauses and there's no real decision points throughout the whole experience. You never need to use your mind. The only limit is really how much money you're willing to spend or how much money you have. If you had endless cash, you could probably play forever. There's no game over screen, there's no menus to navigate, and when you think about it, you don't even have a loading screen. The objective is to get the user into a flow state. As a developer, I know all about the flow state. It's the productive zone where time just disappears while I'm creating something and coding something that I love. But slot machines twist this idea of flow state and they create a mindless flow state. One where you're not creating, you're consuming. Social media platforms have moved to the same direction too. TikTok, Reels, Shorts, they all are built now like slot machines. There's no breaks, there's no pauses, there's no loading screen, you just swipe to get to the next reel. Meanwhile, watching a 2-hour movie feels like a big commitment, but scrolling 2 hours on TikTok, easy. And this got me thinking, how can that same flow state be used for something good, like learning or creating, instead of just that mindless consumption phase? In Piano Run, I've been experimenting with this flow. When you finish a level, you get your reward and you're immediately thrown to the next level. And this is the same technique used in games like Cut the Rope. As soon as you finish a level, you're straight into the next challenge. No loading screen, no thinking, just play the next level. And actually, the only way you can see a list of levels is to pause the game and tap the 3 lines icon. It's subtle, but it guides the user into the flow state. And step 3, you need to offer variable rewards. This is kind of important. Slot machines have the best reward mechanism you can think of. If you win, you get actual money, real currency that can be exchanged for goods and services. With an app, you don't have the same level of connection with the user. If they achieve something in your app, it doesn't really translate into real world material satisfaction. Or does it? There's a technique slot machines use called variable rewards. You press a button, you do the action, and you never exactly know what type of reward you're gonna get. And for some reason, that's kind of addictive. You're probably aware of that 1950s study where psychologists found that when rats pressed a lever and always got food, they eventually got bored and they pressed it less often. When the food came out randomly, like sometimes the rat got a reward, other times they got nothing, the rats couldn't stop pressing the thing. And before you say, hey Adam, we're not programmed like rats, have a think about Tinder. You're literally pressing a button on the screen to be delivered the next reward. Could the next match be your soulmate? Oh look, another dud. And what about Duolingo? Arguably one of the most addicting learning tools on the App Store. After finishing a lesson, you sometimes get a treasure chest, and other times you just don't. And sometimes the chest contains coins, XP boost, streak freezes, and sometimes it's just empty. To add variable rewards to Piano Run, I've been building this gumball machine, inspired by my real-life Lego build. The user gets a chance to play the gumball machine to unlock prizes, rewards, stickers, levels, and customizations. And the aim here is to offer a dopamine hit strategically throughout the game, adding a medium-term goal for the user and keep the user experience dynamic. But before you go adding this mechanic to your app, be aware not to fall into the loot box mechanic. Guideline 3.1.1 of the App Store guidelines says if the user can exchange real-world currency to access loot boxes, you must disclose the odds of receiving each type of item to the user before they purchase. If a user can purchase in-game credits to play a randomized mechanism, that's a loot box, and it can impact your game's age restriction, and it must be disclosed in your app metadata. To keep my app compliant, the gumball can only be unlocked with XP and not purchased. And rewards are predefined. Level 1, a new piano keyboard. Level 2, a hat, that sort of thing. But how do I know whether these additions to the game will make it more addictive? It's simple. I'm tracking one metric and one metric only: sessions per active device. When I add new features, new modes, new mechanics, I expect to see this increase. If it decreases, then that mechanism was a failure.